In this video, I'm going to be reviewing 10 of my more simple Mocs. But don't worry, just because they're simple does not mean they're not interesting. Roll the footage. So, quick little video here. You probably recognize the basic silhouette of this Moc if you've seen any of my other videos. But that is because this torso right here... Oh, shoot, camera. Anyways, this torso right here is a reuse. I've just heavily modified it. But yeah, let's get on to this Moc. So, the Moc uses a cow placed onto a measure head. And to, well, if you have ever done this before, you'll notice it doesn't wiggle as much as it usually does because I used these to lock in the mask. And it just adds a little bit of detail too. Makes it a little bit different than your normal cow. Unfortunately, that does allow for no eye stalks to be used, but again, cow really doesn't need an eye stalk. As you noticed right there, it has a pretty good range of articulation in the hip area. So you can also do a full 360 here. The fins right here and here do occasionally get in the way, but yeah, it's a little hard to move her without both hands. She uses the fin pieces not plugged into this part right here. Usually when you use the fin piece, you'll plug it into the one that has the axle thing on the side. I wanted a thicker thigh, so I plugged this piece into this gray part, then put the black piece on there, and it just creates a thicker thigh. And then to fill up the top, use one of these and the Webrick, the 90-degree piece. I do want to color match it a bit more. These obviously don't come in black. Lego officially, I don't think they officially come in black. If they do, they're really rare. I'm getting from a Webrick eventually, so that'll be nice. More color consistency. And the Webrick, I'm also probably gonna find a black one. Just didn't have one other time. Okay. Ooh, don't fall. I used these little tendril pieces in dark blue, which are not the most common, but they look beautiful for her ankle. Just adds a little bit more of that aquatic theme. The feet, I'm going to keep probably in the same. The thighs are going to stay all black except for this. So, and then I don't know. I don't know if I should keep the gray, light gray, a gear light gray or not, because I have these little white pieces here. Unfortunately, this part does not come in solid black. Wish it did. As we move into so that's all mostly bog standard parts and stuff. Some interesting techniques built off of it, but you know, even the hip is pretty simple. The torso is when it gets really complicated. Okay, so let's just pull this back piece off, and it reveals a lot. Come on. There we go. Back piece plugs in right here. Unfortunately, because of the friction adder, it doesn't fully push in all the way, but it pushes in to stick enough, so I'm fine with that. Let's just deseparate a little bit. But yeah, this piece right here is where the magic happens with, whoa, this torso. Everything is connected off of this. So you have these pieces which connect the frontal armor area, which I already showed how that works in the other video. I think I did at least. Okay. There we go. Much more manageable. So these connector pieces, everything's basically connected using the 90-degree connector part. It's very versatile, and yeah, so it's all interlocked in there. Is it good enough for you? I think so. Anyways, yeah, you'll figure it out if you want to. Then it connects to the Hotdog neck, and then connected to the shoulder. This is just one of those standard pieces. I only used a friction adder on the neck just to give it a little more height, because it would knock into this. The shoulders are custom built. I'm not removing the how because it's a pain. If you want to get a good look, you can. It's a lot of just connecting pieces on top of connecting parts. And yeah, and the arm is also very simple. I just wanted a thinner arm. I might use tires on it, I'm not sure. She uses these pieces. I'm gonna have to get another one. I'm gonna like fill it out a little bit more, but I just want to get a video out on her now, sooner rather than later. Yeah, that's mostly about it for the Moc. I'll give a brief explanation of her story. The reason I used these HAL pieces obviously it looks sick, and I want to use him as armor because I have two of them, but it's symbolic too. The How is a mask of shielding. She's a protector, and this is symbolic. This is not symbolized, but it's a little bit symbolic. But this is really evident in her theme of theme song Hunger. She, in the story, has this Matoran who's under her care, and she's trying to protect her. Or protect him? I don't know. I don't know what the Matoran is right now. Ultimus is a Moc originally created by Lego Man 71. The original design featured on the left, and my version featured on the right. The change in this model is that I used this mask, which is the updated version of Surge's mask. I only did this one because I thought it would look more like a futuristic version of Ultimus. And yeah. Also, obviously, his armor print does not exist in official LEGO, so I had to go with something that did. But speaking of this is a good time to talk about color scheming. Obviously, if you're a fan of LEGO bionicle mocking, you'll probably know the annoyance of these things right here, red ball joints. But they only typically work on a red mock, you'd think. Although, he's blue. What do you see on his chest piece? Red. And it carries on right where the ball joints are, creating for a red striping effect, which almost makes it seem like it's intentionally placed there, and definitely not because I was running low on black ball joints. Although, funny enough, I would have had enough for him, but I saw the red kind of looked okay and kept it together. Now, obviously, there's probably more changes than just the mask and that piece, but those are really noticeable ones. Some other notable things include these winglets right here. I didn't have the ones they used because I'm pretty sure those don't exist, so I use these instead. And yeah, also rare piece. Just love using rare parts. Yeah, let's get into construction of him. All of Ultimus's limbs are pretty simple CCS designs, just basic CCS parts. And this is the same, except I did add a little bit of detail right here. Just fleshes it out more, so instead of being really skinnier here, it is thicker. But also makes it so it doesn't bend. Because, you know, as soon as you pull it out, it has a free rotation. So it's hard to demonstrate with one hand. One thing I really wanted to do with Ultimus, just to set him apart from being a standard CCS figure, was give him a custom torso. Use the same hip design that I always use, as you may have seen in the video that the first Moc review I did about that character right there. I don't know if you can tell, but it's the very same hip joint. This one's just a little bit wider. I then also had to beef it up with these parts, and I don't know if you can really tell in there, but uses a lot of like technic on technic construction. The interesting thing about him, though, is in order to get a fleshed out top, I had to take broken joints and fill them in, so it ends up looking like that. Just fleshes it out more. There was no real other way to fill it. Also, there is a tube, as you can see, going around here. It just adds in some more detail. When you place this on, tuck it in, lines up nicely. Adds more color. Lastly, I wanted to keep this guy as posable as I possibly could. This is helped by having double joint in here for his elbow? No, not elbow. Wow, that shoulder, not an elbow. A standard elbow, actually kind of, not really. You can bend it this way too, which looks broken, but it's the only real way to achieve certain movements that humans can do. Standard hand, I'm gonna give him fingers, just don't have the fingers at the time. As for the hip, he has a not great articulation in the hip, just due to the way this piece works. It blocks into that, but it looks nice. So he can't go forward, unfortunately, at the hip, but he can bend back a little bit. Yeah, it's hard to demonstrate with one hand. He can definitely get some twisting in. Not a ton, but that's enough. He can do some of this, though. That is nice. He can do that. But something that I think a lot more people should try and do, as you saw in the video earlier in the construction, I was showing how he had this black piece right here. Well, this is to hold this trans blue piece in. So it allows it can do this when folded up. Which you might be thinking, well, the normal joint is pretty similar. Not really when you have this much armor. The more armored the character is, the harder it is to get this level of articulation. And also, it doesn't really add any weak points. Just only has more posability. Which I don't think anyone would ever argue against. But yeah, that's Ultimus, doing whatever ballerina pose he's doing right now.
Here's a brief bit of lore on Ultimus. He was once a normal high schooler, but that all changed when an interdimensional rift opened and thrust him into the battle between Autobots and Decepticons. He was given a suit so that he could help fight against the Decepticons, but after a fateful battle, he was turned into a Cybertronian cyborg. This gave him many abilities, including mass displacement, an incredible healing factor, being able to create any weapon he thinks of, and also transforming.
Many people consider parts like this useless, outside of their intended purpose of being a head. I think this Moc will disprove that theory.
My good friend Nadiki and Koda happened to come over my house a few weeks ago, and I ended up building this Moc while they were here. Nadiki is a huge fan of Gundam, so I went for a Gundam aesthetic, and I think it's very exemplified by the knees. They are double jointed, as always, and I feel they just have, using that piece, a very Gundam look to them.
The majority of this build is CCBS. Using the leg, although it does contain incredible posability. But in order to keep a difference in style to differentiate the customized arm, I wanted with a completely technical build. Now, not reference, but for context, I did not come up with this design. It is a modified version of a build by the wonderful person, Koda, on the screen, or maybe not on the screen, I don't know. Anyways, basically smashed up this part, being Koda's design, and took this kind of idea from Ttile Meatslinger from Metroid Studios. I said Metroid. I meant Metroid, or whatever he's called. Lastly, for the torso, I did I used the original torso piece from the thing, but I did something really interesting, was having fun playing with tubes. It is something you can do to really spice up a classic torso. If you do different colors, you can kind of see them inside the vents. You can see it on this one a little bit. I have another Moc that showcases them much better, but this one you can just see I went crazy with it, and then attach it to the head. Used a new bionicle head, plugged in this piece to give it a kind of scope idea, and that. Yeah, this Moc's pretty simple.
As for story ideas, I didn't really have much for him. It's more just kind of a basic generic hero that'll be in the story somehow. Whether or not he's going to be a major hero, I don't know. I know he will be in the story, but probably not in anything crazy capacity-wise. But yeah, he's definitely one of my Mocs. I wouldn't say he's a favorite, but I do love that golden arm. Also, at the same time, that golden arm's not mine. Yeah. Oh, also, if you didn't notice, there's gold two like half Technic connectors. The half length one thing. It's not half length, half thickness. Those are from Webrick, which I want to make a video on at some point. I just have not gotten around to it. But why don't you use the code in the description of the video if you want to take a gamble? I will tell you it is very good quality parts. But yeah, that'll just gets me a little bit of money back. It doesn't affect you at all. Oh, and also the gold Hornika next. They come from Webrick too. So yeah, why not check out their parts? I can tell you and assure you they are very good quality. One of the key ways to make an interesting Moc is to use custom-built elements.
Tillaux's legs remain very similar to the original, but with one really big noticeable change. As you can see here, and if you might have noticed the trend, I include double jointed knees in a lot of my Mocs. It adds for immense posability when the character is light enough. Heavier characters, it's not so easy to do with. Anyways, for him, there's unfortunately no locking mechanism, so it doesn't work the best, but it works better than nothing. Also, unlike Tillaux's current design, he does have a mechanical leg due to explosive-related injuries. The key difference in our two Tillaux's designs are, well, the color scheme for one. In the original Ttile, he uses a not lime green, but the other trans green. And I do like it, but I have a preference for this green. It's prettier. Now, this joint right here, I cannot take credit for. It is part of the original design too. So yeah, most of this is original, just different color. The hip is also the same, except it is slightly different in color, using black and silver exclusively. Oh, also, he uses a lot of Webrick parts just throughout him. I don't know if they're all exclusive coloring, but some I know are, potentially. Anyhow, as one last little reference to Ttile, I put a Ttile sticker in here, but there is no Ttile outside of that. I tried with this torso to keep it as close to the original as possible, in shaping and design. But I wanted to give him this shoulder thing that you've seen in Ultimus' design. I believe I started doing this after I built Troutix in the back. We may get a review on it, we may not. Oh, hi Telex. Anyhow, this right here, I don't believe Nadiki did on his, but it's hard to focus. There we go. It is a 1x2 with just the 2 studs plugged into this, so I could give him a little heart-like piece. Now that I look, oh yeah, and also I removed, so originally, because I used his original torso when I first built him, he had a rubber band here to keep these from moving. But because I was able to rebuild it, he now can have this here, which holds this piece from moving in. Onto the back, here's a big difference with the design. He has these 3 jet turbine pieces, or whatever you want to call them, thrusters. These will be turned to black, by the way, once I get the parts, and same with the ball joints. It's not a ultimate situation. Anyhow, he's got little boosters in the back. Just thought it was cool. Also, he's a Ttile radiation, if I didn't mention. Now, for the mask, this is duck printed parts. I'm definitely not going to keep these. I want to get them black, and I want to get this one as a trans bright green. No offense to Duckbrick, but I want a much better quality eye stock, because I'm not a big fan of the colors in this. But yeah, or color of his trans colors. Anyways, yeah, that's Telox. Real quick thing, you may notice a lot of my figures are missing their fingers. It is an unfortunate thing. I want to get them soon, just don't have them yet.
Unlike some other Mocs, I actually do have some lore for Telox. Telox is a member of the last Toa team ever created in this story. His fellow member, Troutix, is also part of one of the 2 survivors of his team. Their team was attacked by a group of heroes, slaughtering the other 10 members. Yeah, 12, not 6. This was the last resort. Anyhow, together the 2 were found by Bellatrix, who will be reviewed later, and the 3 of them together formed a team. Well, there was another member too, but we'll get into him later.
This Moc is a good example of how simple pieces can make actually a really cool design.
This is my rendition of Red's Moc Bellatrix.
She uses a very simple leg design, just consisting of entirely CCBS, but with a double jointed knee, and her arm is much the same, except I used one of these little tiny bone pieces, hand piece, and this wing part to make a cool custom wing. Well, not really custom, but articulatable wing. That's hard to say. Her torso is very similar to the original torso, using a Vaki hip piece, but I varied off of the armor and used this cool black carapace of the beast from Invasion from Below. Similar butt plate was what she had at one point. The only reason this holds in is because of this little clip piece. Alright, there we go, focusing. Along with that, I wanted to give her a heart light. I don't know if the original one has it, I can't remember. One of the biggest differences, though, is her design. The Hordika necks are able to go up and down. In a Master of Posability, I like it and I don't like it because also I use this to lock in the tubing on the back. So it just gives a cool aeronautic design, and the same for the head is the same as her design. Anyways, one downside of not being able to put these down is it makes for a lack of being able to pose these shoulders. But when you're doing stop motion animation, having the shoulders locked in is really, really nice. Yeah, that's Bellatrix.
Bellatrix was one of the first 7 Toa created, and she has a special cube that allows her to have 6 armor sets. Each one has some kind of power or advantage. These are 3 concepts of the 6 armors Bellatrix has. They aren't fully finalized, but these 3 sketches will get you a good idea of what they'll end up looking like. Sunstreaker armor is for when she's in the desert, as it allows to absorb in the sun on the wings, and then she can fly through the sky. Her Soul Eclipse armor allows her to take in the souls of her enemies, and then use it in her gun, which I did not put on the board. Oh well. And lastly is her flight suit, which allows her to fly in all climates except for the sun area, or desert area. That's when Sunstreaker becomes crucial. As Bellatrix opened her eyes, she saw 6 other Toa who were also destined to defeat the Makuta. One of these 6 Toa became her closest ally, the Dark Blue Toa water I've done a previous video on. Check that video up on the archive, whatever that's called. Anyhow, Bellatrix's main story in Season 1 is learning how to use her cube of armor and how to fight as a team, and, well, eventually potentially kill Pterodax. Anyhow, not to spoil too much of Season 1, she eventually appears up later in seasons, but nowhere near as powerful as a character as she is in Season 1.
This is my entry for Laptop Eater's Vehicle Contest. Let's get into the design. So, this vehicle uses 2 main sets as part packs. I use an Usanui and the Star Wars speeder bike. So you can really see that in the design language, build of it. Mainly the Usanui is like this part, and then the speeder bike is kind of whatever the rest is. But I also did use a couple other Technic things, so it wasn't just that. But that's like the main things I used. Getting this guy into the vehicle is a pain in the butt, so I'm not going to demonstrate it. You slot his feet into these places and then fiddle with him enough to the point where he gets in, and then you rest his feetsies, little nooks, onto these. So yeah, that was the old design. His feetsies hang out the back. So yeah, I'm just not going to demonstrate it. If you want to see what it looks like, just rewind to the beginning of the video. It's a pain to do. Let's get the little handles here, which I like. Going handheld now. I know Red doesn't like that. Anyways, so for details on it, I wanted to go for more of like a Wasteland design. So obviously, that was a loud vehicle. You have the spines going down here, you got the tubes along here. These are kind of built into your rider thing. This is kind of like a seat. It's not really a very good one, but it's like meant to be. You got these big, gigantic exhausts, which are like 2 different wheel pieces. You got these are the same, and then this one. They just fit really well. I like it. You got all these different tubes. Interesting about this is this should not really fit the way it was supposed to go in the Usanui build. I moved it up a little bit, and it just slots in perfectly. Actually, this one. There we go. I didn't even like pop it in fully. But yeah, you can kind of see how it just. Come on, focus. You're not focusing really well, but it just slots right into there. Anyhow, I tried to also keep the tubing consistent, so you know what, we'll take this thing off in a stand in a second. So you have the tubes that go around here, you got them into there, you got this little fiery details, it's like kind of the exhaust area. Then you got this thing, which plays into this as well. I'll get into that a little bit. And yeah, that's kind of it for exterior details. This plays into something later. Sorry, it's a little out of focus. There we go. Yeah. Also, these fit in really well. I just like how they slot in. Let's get on to the underside, which I'll do when I remove the stand. Really quickly, this is the stand. Nothing crazy. It locks in with the pin here. That connects into like one of these. Oh, lost a flame. And then this kind of just holds it. Just something quick to keep it up. So obviously you have the exhausts here, and then it leads into this. I just love how everything looks so nice on the base of it. You have the tubes which lead into everything. They all connect into here. They flow around. It just looks really good from all around. I don't think there's any like bad angles on this thing. Speaking of the build, I love how when I built it, I realized, hey, I can lock this all in really well, and like I can pick this up. I wouldn't pick it up there. Anywhere on the main core build, and it's fine. The back rack spine's a little bit careful because, yeah, I wouldn't pick up like here, but anywhere basically, anywhere like along the main build. The way I pick it up typically is pinching here and then having my hand rest there, and it gives a pretty good, like, you know, thing. Like, whatever. So yeah, that's the build. Now there is a rider to this thing, so you got kind of a twofer this guy this time. For anyone who's seen my soft Moc, this design should look very familiar. It is the same build. Yeah. Just love this color. You don't see it very often. I found these at one point and was like, oh, I can use them in him. You got all this bling on the torso. Got a little heart light. He's not balanced well. Kind of get like this burnt orange pants type of deal. Yeah. Now, you might be wondering, why is there an orange piece right here? I wonder why. Could it be related to this? It very much is. When the vehicle does not have a rider, he can double tap his little orange thing and autopilot engages. You can look around. This is his main eye, and then he has a little eye right here. And then which this is more of a long distance one. This is a full like 180 degree, and then this is his kind of more depth perception type of thing, which allows him to look different directions. So yeah, and it kind of looks like he's holding it, which I thought was pretty cool. Cool little quirks that happen when you're building things.
If you're an OG Biotuber fan, I bet you've at least heard the name Dr. Scorpion X. Well, right here we have my MOV of his character. His legs use a modified design from Matanui, the Titan one. I added, obviously, this piece to add it. Also, little metrician. Helps keep bulk it up. This piece just is there to prevent it going in this direction, which doesn't look great. But really doesn't do, honestly, much in terms of stopping it compared to this. Ankle posability is pretty good. Doesn't have a great amount front, but he's a pretty heavy Moc, so you might not want to go front with him. Going up on the model, we have the thigh, which has a little bit of technic greebling. Has the foot here, similar to the original, I believe. Our original Matanui set. His arms out of the way. In the back, we have a lot of modifications due to adding this. Oh, hello, come on, focus. There we go. I'm just getting used to setting this all up with the new camera, so pardon any technological issues. I have this gear here. Okay, focus, okay. Which you can't really see. Well, actually a little bit. It does rotate, which I thought looked really cool, how it rotates when you move the thing up. I swear, this has never fallen off when I was playing with it. But I guess you can see how it's connected. Just uses an axle with one of these, and then a little T connector in there. I don't know if I saw that in a video or not. I may have. I can't remember. Anyhow, standard connection from Matanui. Obviously the back has been reworked so you can fit this in here. You have the Technic piston that connects into that. Sorry, the focus is terrible. Had to have friction adder because this is just so much weight on top of it. We have this little segment that helps connect the tail to the main torso. Speaking of the tail, we have a very organic scorpion-like design, apart from these little inconsistencies here, but connects into that, and when curled up correctly, I think it looks a lot like a scorpion's actual tail. These shoulders are slightly modified versions of Matanui's original one, with these little modifications right there, and having the jet boosters on the back. It then goes into a completely custom arm that mainly, I like this piece. I was just trying to see what could cover it up. I grabbed this and it worked, at least in my opinion, really, really well. Then you have a custom design that's meant to look kind of scrappy. I don't think I did it very well, but yeah. Obviously you have the original hand design. You can't go wrong with those little modification there. A little bit of gold, a little bit of bling bling. You got his fingers that are completely posable, same as the original. The head is the same as the original, just in silver instead of gold. Now, you might be looking at the body and going, hey, that's a really cool custom torso yeet. It's not my torso. I stole the frame, added some slight modifications like to the tail, adding a neck here, but the majority, pretty much all of it, was someone else's design. Put on the left. It was, I believe, Jock's Builds? I had to go on a little bit of a quest to find it, so I will put credit in the description for, I believe it's his self-mock that uses it. Could be completely wrong on that. But yeah, I love the frame. I saw it, was like, this is going to be perfect for Dr. Scorpion.
And that's actually why this video took so long to do, is because I was just not happy. It was a completely different character, and it just didn't look right. I swapped out the frame, made it Dr. Scorpion, and it took a while, but, you know, we got to this point now where I think it looks really nice. There we go, the camera. Okay. Yeah, what do you think? If you agree that it looks really nice, make sure to put that in the description. Or not description, not the description, yeet. Comments. Put that in the comments. Anyhow, on to whatever I was going to say next. I did forget to mention, so I'm going to insert this somewhere in the video. These gold pieces and a bunch of the other gold parts on him are Webrick stuff. So, shop Webricks. Use the link I have in the description. It'll give me a little bit of money back, but of real no cost to you. Anyhow, buy gold, buy gold.
Many, many moons ago, the 9 Titans wandered the deserts of Matanui. Among them was the Scorpion, the most powerful of them all. Equipped with his stinger tail, he could paralyze any of the other Titans who rose up against him. He used this ability to conquer all of the Titans and enslave many Matoran. With this power, he built a city for them all to rule in, until one day one of the Titans, who was immune to his venom, rose up and fought against him. Scorpion did not win, and his body was ravaged with the gold that plated his silver underlying armor. They then scattered his body across the desert, fearing for his return.
When creating this version of Good Guy, the staff was one of the most important things I wanted to try to do. And I feel that this piece really looks a lot like the top of this piece, and then just a regular part where staff gets the rest of it done. Is it perfect? No, but it's as good as I was going to get it with using regular parts. For the feet, I felt that Mata feet were the perfect evolution of the original Gorok feet, and I was able to keep the gray color scheme going all the way up into the legs, which they use a custom design. It's pretty simple, mainly just connecting pieces with the 1x2 Technic and plate, bushing in there just to give it some detail, and around back. Really super simple, but it does the job. Yeah, I know, I've used this hip design to death, and same with the torso-ish, but it works really well, okay? And I did use a really short thing, so there's no real widening of the hips. What do you try and explain? My fingies can't use, there's no extra widening of the hips. These are so out of focus. When it came to the torso, I wanted to make sure it was as gray as possible since, well, the original was. And I also wanted to give it a hunch. In order to accomplish this though, I had to resort to some evoky techniques, i.e. cutting these pieces right there. Just a little bit, chopped off the top, just enough so they could connect in. So yeah, I feel this. Sorry, it's out of focus. This accomplishes its job really well. These, not so much. As you can tell, this original piece is a very specific design. Very thin at the base, and very thick at the top. That is not super easy to capture with the parts I was trying to do. Well, at least in dark red. I was able to get this looking dark red, but not this. So I had to compromise and go with an internal frame of black. So yeah, that's where it loses its part, the color accuracy. That's where the staff just kind of connects in through here, into the hand. Super simple connection. If you're a Bionicle fan, you know the troubled history of lime green. And well, I think you can see where this is going. Despite all his joints being entirely lime green, there is not a single crack on him. Well, that is for one minor detail on his hip, but we can get into that later. To allow for greater posability and articulation in the shoulder, I use this modified joint that is fairly common in the Bionicle community. Just slapping on a Metro thing and a... Sorry, I'm a bit sick right now. Metro lower limb. On the other one, just to spice it up a bit, I used a Hydraxon mask, and... Yeah, I know. Evoky techniques once more strike back, but one of these cut just could not fit, obviously, over that. I think it adds a little visual splash to him. Also, he uses the... I don't know the name of the mask, but the mask is stealth. And I did like the idea of having the visor still in it, as if he's like flying through the wind and whatever, he has the visor to protect himself. The lower limbs are not very, intricate or anything. He's a very simple Moc. He has these for detail and this I think it's, well, let me zoom in better on it. You can't really see it, but this joint is cracked. So, I mean, technically he's not cracked, but at the same time, he does have a cracked joint. It's just not an actual joint. It's a toss-up. I say he's uncracked. This scythe design was created by Red, a good friend of mine. I really liked it, and stole it. But yeah, it works for Nadiki. This is Raxon myself, Moc, and he's a very good example of custom-built small-scale torsos. When you're building a large-scale torso, it can be pretty easy to add in lots of detail and make it posable. But when you're trying to build small-scale things like this one, you really got to use a lot of technical know-how in order to create a decent torso like this one. This torso features a waist joint with excellent posability, a pretty good hip joint with some really nice range of motion, and it's even at a little bit of an angle to make it decent shaping wise. You come up to the torso and you have ball joints on the thing. They don't bend forward a ton, and this is a point where he pops off his arms a lot, but I mean, it's I don't really know exactly what else I would do to try and get a better range of motion. Then for the neck, you use I have a socket joint. There are other ways to do things, but I wanted to use this and that. Now, unfortunately, with the way he's designed, he doesn't have much both looking down range. Although, you know, small scale Moc doesn't need to, he's got a good amount of up, so that's good. Why don't we look into a little bit of the Raxon's lore? I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about this video. I think I'm just gonna send it off the rails. If you're hearing this, then I went off script. It's Christmas Eve right now. Actually, it's Christmas technically. It's like 1 o'clock. And I ain't filming. I don't really want to film this. You're probably gonna hear bits and pieces, but it's hard to make videos. To be real with you. Like, you think it's easy. No, you just put the camera up and it's not. Coming up with what to say, what to do, trying to fix the schedules in school, it's tough. And this is partly why you haven't seen this video. I promised I wanted to get this video in midway through November, and that just didn't happen. So, I don't know. You'll see Ttile of Raxon at some point. And Raxon's lore is, I can't really tell too much without spoiling huge pieces of stuff I have planned. But he's a genius inventor. As long as he has a lab with him, he's basically God. And he's an absolute arrogant jerk. But he gets better. And that's really all I can say without spoiling things. It's a tough one. It's a tough video. I know you guys come here for more upbeat stuff. And for reviews and things. But he's one of those characters that's I spent so many days trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. Because again, I can't talk about him without revealing tons of stuff. I know some of you guys know a lot of lore about him. That's because you're my friends, and I know you guys well. But those who are not my friends, those who watch my channel, I can't, spoil things. I don't want to ruin their experience when my show eventually comes out. So, I've given my piece. I've said what I can say. I can do a little bit of, showing how he works. He's got simple CCBS limbs, got the leg, right here, there we go, we can get a focus. Get the leg, it's simple, CCBS. Small scale Mocs work really well with CCBS. And we have tires on the arm, it's another way of armoring stuff up without having CCBS shells. Got some fingies, got big hands. I don't like the fact that these hands, I need to get new hands for him, actual. My plan is to do that for a lot of the characters, 3D print them, and then, yeah, better looking. I've shown this before, but he's used a lot of these pieces right here. Just kind of move, he's got four. One, two, sorry, one, and then you got two here, and then a fourth one right there. Ball joints, a lot of them, sockets, a lot of them. Yeah, that's Raxon. And honestly, a lot of small-scale Mocs are going to look like him. Maybe not on the torso, obviously, but small CCBS limbs. It's really hard to make a small-scale Moc and not use CCBS limbs. Because they're the smallest way you can make a joint. Literally, you cannot make a smaller joint with Technic pieces. Theoretically, you could, but you wouldn't be using ball sockets. You would be using, pins and axles and whatnot. Or mixel joints. Even then, mixel joints, I think, might be slightly bigger. But that's a moot point. moot point, whatever the word is. Point is, this video is hard to make, and I said what I can. You're gonna see it in whatever I upload it as. So if it makes it, if this makes it in, it makes it in. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Just want to wish you. I guess I just probably want to. You know, it's Christmas, so I wish you guys a Merry Christmas. I hope I didn't ruin this. I know a lot of you guys been waiting for it, but yeah. Why don't you go watch my Gundam video? A video that is performing incredibly well, which I thank you guys so much for. Anyways, it's right here if you want to watch it. And no, I'm not going to make a mistake. It's right there.